The ultimate betrayal. How a family scandal exposed my husband's double life. Plot twist. Imagine this. You run a successful cheating investigation business, and your world is built on exposing secrets. But what happens when your life becomes the biggest scandal of all? When my brother asked for help suspecting his fiancée of cheating, I never expected to uncover the most shocking betrayal, my own husband, caught on camera with her. What do you do when family, love, and betrayal all collide in the worst way possible? Buckle up, because this roller coaster of lies, revenge, and jaw-dropping twists is about to unfold, and trust me, you won't see the end coming. Before we start, please like and subscribe. Chapter 1. The Scandal That Hits Home. My name is Veronica Lane, and I run Truth Unveiled, the best and most discreet cheating investigation business in town. The name alone tells you everything you need to know about my line of work. I specialize in uncovering secrets, finding hidden truths, and exposing unfaithful partners in the most dramatic ways possible. People trust me with their worst fears, and I take pride in delivering the closure they need, whether that means catching a cheater in the act, or revealing the deep, twisted webs they've spun. I've made a name for myself, and I don't take it lightly. After all, I've spent years perfecting my skills. My instincts are sharp, my attention to detail impeccable. You'd think after all this, I'd have the perfect life, right? But as I always say, the thing about secrets is that they have a way of finding you, and they don't always stay hidden, especially when it's your own life on the line. It all started on a typical Wednesday afternoon, a day like any other. I had just wrapped up a successful case for one of my regular clients, a wealthy socialite, who suspected her husband of cheating, but was too terrified to confront him directly. Of course, I'd already found the evidence she needed, incriminating photos of her husband, no less. It was a satisfying conclusion, the kind that kept me in business. I was about to head to my office when my phone buzzed. A message from Lucas, my younger brother. He never called without reason, so my heart skipped when I saw his name flash across the screen. I didn't even have to read the text to know something was wrong. His usual cool, confident tone was replaced with something softer, more uncertain. I hit accept and his voice crackled through the speaker. It wasn't the Lucas I knew. "V, I need your help," he said, his voice tight with emotion. "I think Kira's cheating on me." Kiara, his fiancée, the woman who, just 6 months ago, I'd helped him pick out the perfect engagement ring for. The woman I had spent countless hours with, talking about wedding plans, laughing at my brother's bad jokes, and getting caught up in their whirlwind romance. Kiara was practically family. She was the sister I never had. Hearing Lucas like this, well, it was like a punch to the gut. I could feel the panic in his words, a desperation that was unlike him. Lucas was a man who had everything together, his career, his future, his love life. If anyone could spot a cheater, it was him. But something about this was different. "I don't know what to do, V," he continued. "She's acting weird. Something's off. I can't explain it, but I know something's wrong." I pressed my lips together, trying to hold it together. This wasn't just about some random case. This was my brother. I knew him better than anyone, and if he was this shaken, there had to be something going on. "I'll look into it," I told him, my voice a bit steadier than I felt. "Just trust me. I'll find out what's going on." "Thanks, V," he said, sounding relieved, though still worried. "I'll send you everything I have." It's bad." I hung up and sat back in my chair, rubbing my eyes. My mind was already racing. As much as I tried to stay detached from my cases, this one felt different. I couldn't ignore the weight of what Lucas was asking me to do. I wasn't just investigating a cheating partner. I was going to uncover the truth about someone I loved. Someone I considered my family. A few hours later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a video file from Lucas. The message was simple: "Watch this. It's all I have right now." I hesitated before opening the video. I knew what it was going to be. He had said it was bad, but I hadn't prepared myself for this. I clicked play. The footage opened on a dimly lit hotel room. My stomach twisted, my hands already cold with sweat as I watched Kiara. She was standing in front of a mirror, adjusting her makeup, when the door opened behind her. "Jake." I froze. My heart lurched as my husband, stepped into view. His face partially obscured by the shadows, but there was no mistaking him. I didn't need to see any more. The world around me went still as I watched him approach Kiara. They talked for a moment, their voices low, too quiet for me to hear. But then they kissed. "No." The word echoed in my mind, but I couldn't force myself to look away. Kiara's lips pressed against Jake's, and I felt my heart shatter. I don't know what was worse, the image of the kiss, or the gut-wrenching realization that I had been blind to the truth. It felt like someone had ripped my chest open and exposed everything I thought was solid. Jake, my husband, the man I had promised to spend my life with, was kissing my brother's fiancée. This wasn't just a betrayal of my marriage, it was a betrayal of my family. I stared at the screen, my mind racing, but my body felt like it was stuck in quicksand. The video was everything Lucas had been afraid of. And now it was all on me. I had to figure out what to do. Do I confront Jake? Do I tell Lucas the truth? Or do I bury the secret, pretend I didn't see it, and hope everything would somehow work itself out? But what if I made the wrong choice? If I confronted Jake, I might lose him. And I wasn't sure if I could survive that. If I kept quiet, I'd be betraying my own brother. I couldn't do that to him. I felt like I was being pulled in two different directions, each one tugging at my soul. Could I expose Jake, the man I married, for all the wrong reasons? Could I tear down the life I had spent years building just to uncover this? Or was it better to keep this secret to myself and protect my family from the chaos that would inevitably follow? I didn't know which was worse, the idea of exposing Jake, or the idea of living with this dark, terrible truth forever. Either way, I was trapped. I looked at the video one more time, then hit pause. The room around me felt cold, empty. My professional instincts kicked in, but it didn't feel like business anymore. This wasn't just another case to solve. This was my life, and it was crumbling before my eyes. Chapter 2, The Web of Lies. I had no choice but to pretend to be the concerned sister, the loving family member who wanted to make things right. But deep inside, I was wading through a murky ocean of secrets, secrets that had just shattered everything I thought I knew. Lucas thought I was helping him. I told him I'd be discreet, that I would get to the bottom of Kira's strange behavior. But what he didn't know was that, as I was listening to him pour out his heart, I was already planning my own investigation, an investigation that would destroy not only his world but my own. Truth Unveiled wasn't just a business for me, it was a passion. I had built it from the ground up. I knew how to observe, how to track someone without them ever knowing. And now I was using every ounce of my expertise to track down Kiara, to unravel the tangled mess Jake had woven. I started with the basics, Kira's daily habits, her routine. I followed her for days, tailing her like a shadow. My heart was heavy with guilt as I watched her go about her day, smiling at strangers, chatting with friends, living her life like she didn't have a care in the world. How could she do this to my brother? How could she betray him like this, even if she didn't know she was part of the mess? And then there was Jake, my husband, the man who had shared my bed for years, the man I thought I knew better than anyone. I watched him too, every step, every word, every move. The more I studied him, the more I realized how much I didn't know. He had become a master at playing a role, and I had been too naive to see it. I went through his phone when he wasn't looking, feeling like a complete fraud as I sifted through his texts, his emails, his photos. It felt like breaking into his very soul, but I needed answers. I needed to know what was happening, what had been happening for who knows how long. What I found was a revelation that twisted my stomach into knots. Jake wasn't just cheating on me with Kiara. No, he was playing a much bigger game. He wasn't just Jake. Under a fake identity, he had managed to weasel his way into Kira's life, pretending to be someone else, someone better. And it wasn't just about an affair. He had proposed to her, knowing full well that Kira's father had a fortune he was desperate to get his hands on. I stared at the screen in disbelief. Was this the man I married? The same man who had whispered sweet words to me in the quiet of our home? The man who had convinced me to build a life with him? Now I saw him for what he truly was. Nothing but a puppet master, pulling the strings of a woman he saw as nothing more than a ticket to power. I felt my stomach churn. But the real kicker came when I started looking into Kira's life. I had been so focused on Jake's deception that I hadn't thought to question Kira's role in all of this. But when I dug deeper, when I followed the breadcrumbs she'd left behind, I realized she was far from innocent. She was sleeping with a man, an older man, one who looked like he belonged in a black and white movie, with a cigarette dangling from his lips, and a face that had seen too many years. He wasn't some cliché of a midlife crisis fling though. No. This man had connections, connections that ran deep, deeper than I could have ever imagined. Organized crime. My head spun. I wasn't just dealing with two cheaters in a petty affair. I was caught in a web that stretched into places I never thought I'd be. This man wasn't just a lover. He was a player in a dangerous game. A game that could easily cost me my life. I felt the walls closing in. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was a conspiracy that threatened everything I held dear. My marriage, my business, my safety, it was all at risk. And as if things couldn't get any worse, there was Chloe. Chloe, my best friend, my partner in crime, in the most literal sense. If there was anyone I could count on to help me pull off the most reckless, ridiculous schemes, it was her. But, well, Chloe was also the kind of friend who would break into a building to get you information, but would probably end up locking herself in the bathroom. She'd been helping me dig into Jake's business, helping me break into his office's security system. It was supposed to be a simple hack, nothing too complicated. But with Chloe at the wheel, nothing was ever simple. One afternoon, we were in his office, trying to tap into the security system. The plan was to disable a few cameras, retrieve some of Jake's more private files, and hopefully get a glimpse into his dealings, maybe something that would give me the ammunition I needed. Chloe was handling the tech side, and I was on lookout, keeping an eye on anyone who might come by. It was going well, until it wasn't. Chloe knocked over a cup of coffee. Not just any coffee, my coffee, the one I'd been drinking since 6 a.m., the one that had been my lifeline for the past few days of sleepless nights. Oh my God, I hissed, watching as the coffee splashed directly onto the system's mainframe. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. The screen flickered once, twice, and then, nothing. You had one job, I screamed, scrambling to grab tissues, and trying to salvage the situation. Chloe, ever the optimist, just grinned, holding up her hands in mock surrender. Oops. And then the alarm went off. It was deafening, like something straight out of a bad spy movie. Of course, I'd just become an international criminal. All because I was trying to figure out if my husband was sleeping with my brother's fiancée. We ran. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to laugh or cry as we darted down the hallway, the sound of the security alarm echoing in the building. And then, just as if it couldn't get worse, a very enthusiastic security dog, more Labrador than Doberman, came charging at us. Chloe shrieked, and I swear, the dog was laughing as it chased us down the block. I don't even know how we escaped, but somehow we did, barely. By some miracle, we managed to fix the system, but not before I'd had enough near-death experiences to last a lifetime. But as chaotic as that day was, the worst part was the discovery. The deeper I dug, the more twisted the truth became. Jake was involved with the crime syndicate, using Kira's family's wealth as leverage. My husband, my partner, was playing a dangerous game with people who didn't play by the rules, and the more I uncovered, the darker it became. Every step I took, the more I realized how deep I was in it now. There was no turning back. I had fallen headfirst into a world of lies, betrayal, and danger, and the worst part, I wasn't sure how I was ever going to get out. Chapter 3. The ultimate betrayal. After everything that had happened, I knew I couldn't just sit around and let Jake continue to wreck my life. I wasn't about to go down without a fight. He'd betrayed me. He'd betrayed my brother. And now I was going to take control of my fate. Lucas had no idea about the depths of Jake's lies. He still thought it was just an affair. But now I had learned too much to let that slide. And Kiara? Well, she was just as furious as Lucas. In fact, she might have been even angrier. The woman who had been duped into believing she was the victim in this twisted mess was now a woman scorned. And she was ready for revenge. I knew what I had to do. It was time to out Jake. To turn the tables on him, and expose him for everything he truly was. Together with Kiara, who, I admit, I was starting to feel some sympathy for, we came up with a plan. A plan that was going to be perfect. Nothing could go wrong. The plan? A fake yacht trip. The kind of luxury getaway Jake would never pass up. We'd stage the perfect environment, sun, sea, the perfect backdrop. We'd plant hidden cameras all around the yacht, catch him in the act, and watch his whole world crumble around him. But, as with everything in my life lately, nothing was simple. I was on edge as we prepared for the operation. Kiara and I went over every detail, ensuring nothing was overlooked. The trap was set, and I felt a brief sense of relief. Finally, this nightmare would be over. But then I heard the unmistakable sound of high heels clicking across the deck. Mom? I turned around slowly, dread pooling in my stomach. There she was. My mother. On the yacht, dressed as some kind of over-the-top villain in a dark wig and oversized trench coat, and sunglasses that screamed, "I'm up to something." "Mom, no!" I cried, rushing toward her. "I'm here to catch him," she exclaimed, waving her arms as if she were about to make a grand entrance at some crime scene. "What are you talking about? You're supposed to stay hidden, Mom," I half shouted, half whispered, trying not to make a scene while my mother beamed with excitement like she was playing the role of the femme fatale in an old spy movie. "I'm not hiding," she said, her voice loud and confident. "I'm here to help." The horror hit me like a freight train. My mother, had decided she was going to play the villain in our elaborate scheme. The worst part? She was so convinced of her acting prowess that she genuinely thought she was helping us catch Jake in the act. "Mom!" I hissed, desperately tugging at her arm. "You're supposed to stay in the background. You're going to ruin everything." "I'll blend in, don't worry," she replied, a little too loudly, her trench coat flapping in the wind as she tried to sneak around the yacht. Her version of blending in was more like drawing attention with every dramatic movement. As if the situation wasn't chaotic enough, things went from bad to worse. We were just about to set everything in motion when I was hit with another bombshell. Kira's mysterious older lover, the one who had connections to the criminal underworld, wasn't just some random guy with a sketchy background. He wasn't even the man I thought he was. He was an undercover FBI agent. You could have knocked me over with a feather. How had I missed this? How had I been so absorbed in my own drama that I didn't see the bigger picture? The older man Kiara had been sleeping with was working on a much bigger case, one that had been going on long before I'd even started sniffing around. He'd been tracking Jake for months, waiting for the right moment to take him down. And now, by some twisted stroke of fate, I had unwittingly become part of a much larger operation. The web of lies I had been untangling wasn't just about love and betrayal, it was about financial fraud, corruption, and a man who had been scamming people for far too long. Just as the plan began to unravel and chaos seemed to reach its peak, things fell into place. The trap was set. Jake had no idea what was coming. He arrived at the yacht like a fish to water, completely oblivious. And when the time came, when the cameras were rolling and everything was perfectly in place, that was when the truth came crashing down. Jake was arrested. The sound of the cuffs snapping closed around his wrists was oddly satisfying. There was no glamour, no epic final confrontation. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing I had outsmarted the man who had deceived me. The man I had trusted. The man I had loved. Lucas and Kiara had their own moment of triumph, but it wasn't without its share of ridiculous drama. They broke up, then made up, and then broke up again. Because of course they did. What did you expect from two people who had been caught in a whirlwind of lies and betrayal? It wasn't pretty, but it was theirs to figure out. As for me, I walked away from the mess, free at last. Free from the lies. Free from the deceit. Free from a marriage that had been nothing more than a sham. I was single, stronger than I had ever been, and determined to take my business to the next level. No more secrets, no more lies. When I returned home, there was a small surprise waiting for me. Chloe, my tech-was best friend, had left me a gift. It was a framed photo of Jake's arrest. The caption beneath it read, "The cheater caught." I laughed out loud, the tension in my chest finally starting to ease. Chloe's humor was the only thing that had kept me grounded through all of this. I had a feeling this wouldn't be the last time she'd be there to support me. But just when I thought I could finally take a breather, I heard the ringing of my phone. It was a call I didn't expect. A famous celebrity, one of the top stars in the country, was begging for my help. Another cheating scandal. Another broken heart. It was funny how life worked, wasn't it? Just when you think you've conquered one battle, another case lands on your doorstep. And just like that, I knew my work wasn't done. This was only the beginning. Story ends. Question: what's the most shocking plot twist you've ever experienced in a TV show or movie? Let us know in the comments. I'd love to hear your wildest surprises.